Hello everybody, welcome. Today we are moving up our spine in terms of our focus on the different chakras. We've already covered the root chakra at the base of our spine, and we've moved upwards to also cover our sacral chakra and our solar plexus chakra. So we're meeting at what's considered the midpoint of the chakra series, the heart chakra. It is the connection point of what is considered more of the physical chakras, and connecting to more of the mental, emotional, or spiritual chakras after we move up. And so the heart chakra sits right in the center at our sternum, or right between like our shoulder blades in the spine. This chakra focuses largely on the concept of love and openness to love. Sometimes it also refers to feelings of peace or joy that can accompany love quite often. And if that area is considered blocked, it's sometimes referred, or it's seen more often in people who have had emotional pain or emotional trauma, such as grief or loss. Again, when we study the chakras, we always like to think of them very openly. And so even in a regards to just an anatomical sense, I always find the heart chakra fascinating, because oftentimes when people are feeling like pain, the pain of grief or loss, or even just have been emotionally hurt and they become guarded, their physical bodies will manifest that in the sense that they often will close off or almost like tighten kind of inward. We almost like physically will display our emotions in the way we collapse and hold and like kind of try to protect ourselves and become guarded. And so because of that, if our minds are feeling certain feelings that are associated what we would refer to as a blocked heart chakra, our bodies will often display that as well. So we'll see individuals having very tight kind of like chest and shoulder regions. They'll have fatigued upper back and kind of like back and neck pain. And they can also have a lot of like weakness in their back and a lot of tightness in their chest. So a lot of the physical yoga poses that are associated with opening the heart chakra are related to back bending, or at least opening through the heart center, the chest, the shoulders. So a lot of poses that we've covered in other videos do this, and we'll be kind of revisiting those in reference to the heart chakra. The color of the heart chakra is green, and so openness and unblocked heart chakras also generally do well when connected to nature or the outdoors. So a lot of times if people are feeling like emotionally kind of stagnant or closed off, the feeling of spending time in the outdoors, spending time around trees, in a forest, in the mountains, sitting or laying in the grass, all these things, people will often say like, oh gosh, that made me feel so much better, and they don't really have a way to connect why. And one explanation of why that is such a beautiful kind of relaxing or peaceful experience for individuals is because, again, it's connecting to those blocked emotions and that closed off area that we have a tendency to relate to our heart or our soul or our energy. So we'll have a very physical practice today, like I said, focusing on the chest, shoulders, opening that back as well, strengthening that back at times, and hopefully you will leave feeling very peaceful and relaxed. Okay, so let's go ahead, begin on our mat. We're gonna start in child's pose today. So knees at about the midpoint or center point of our mat. We can open them maybe a little bit wider. Big toes are crossed one over the other, And I'm going to bring my forearms right to the mat, forehead down. So not a big deep stretch yet. We're going to find our breath here. Deep breath in and out. In and out. On our next breath in, let's begin to kind of like crawl those fingers forward, in and out. Get a little deeper stretch through those shoulders and upper arms. In and out. Good. Let's take those arms just a little bit wider to the edges of our mats. In and out with our breath. Continuing that a few more times, keeping those foreheads to the mat. To set an intention for your practice as we focus on our heart center, you may want to say mentally, I am at peace. I feel loved. It's another beautiful intention to set as you have those hands nice and wide in child's pose. I feel connected to my heart. I feel connected to the earth, or I feel connected to nature. Any of those spoke to you, allow that to be your intention moving forward. For the remainder of this practice, I'm going to bring my hands all the way alongside of me, holding on to my feet. Again, continuing to follow that breath pattern in and out. Good. I'm going to slowly roll up. Good. I'm going to let my hands come nice and wide. Deep breath in. Eyes lifting up to the ceiling or the sky. As we exhale, I'm going to take my right hand over my left and I'm going to do a big bear hug. Good. As I inhale, hands open again. In. Lifting through that heart center today. All of our poses, think about lifting up and out. Close that left hand over the top, big bear hug. We're going to do that one more time on each side. In and out. In. Last time, close it up. And out. Good. As we get off our feet, bring our hand to our mat. We're in tabletop position. In. We take a cat stretch. And out. Really feel the heart opener through our cow pose. In. Cat stretch. And out. One last time. In, cat stretch, and out. Good work. Let's go ahead. We're going to thread the needle to start getting those shoulders nice and open and warmed up. Right hand's going to go high. Inhale. We're going to exhale, thread that needle all the way through. Right hand goes under that left arm. Now there's lots of variations for this pose. We've done it in previous videos. You're always welcome to maybe reach that left hand up or bring it behind the back, or you can just keep that left hand right in front of you. We want at least 3 to 5 breaths here where we're feeling a nice stretch on the outside of the shoulders. A heart opening series, we have to move through a pretty long warm up because again, it's very common for people to hold a lot of tightness in those chest and shoulders. And before proceeding to any back bends, we want to make sure that spine and that body is nice and warmed up. So I'm going to start to exit by releasing any variation I was holding. Left hand coming back down. I'm going to pull that right hand out, but I'm going to extend it all the way up into the sky like I did before. Good. Bringing it all the way down, tabletop position, opposite side. Left hand goes up. Eyes follow that left hand, and then we thread through that right hand, getting nice and comfy. Again, choosing what feels good so that we get that stretch on that whole outside of that left arm, using that body weight to assist us there. Right hand taking our variation if we'd like to add that. Again, 3 to 5 breaths here. Right hand going back up if you've been holding that variation, and then dropping it down into that mat, pushing that ground away, extending left hand nice and high, back up to the sky, getting some nice thoracic rotation through the spine before we drop that hand down. Good. Now we've been on our hands and knees. Let's go ahead, do a few wrist stretches. So I'm going to flip my palms again. These should all be relatively familiar. Nothing too crazy here, just easing back ever so slightly, back and forth. Some of the first stretches we ever introduced in any of my beginning series are wrist stretches. So taking time to balance that out. Maybe moving the fingertips to the right or the left. We can do some side to side. Maybe move organically. So if you prefer to do like some circles, maybe that'll feel nice. Whatever feels good for their hands and wrists. Just depending on how you're coming into your practice today. Some people might need a longer wrist warm up than others, that's fine. But once I stretch those wrists out just a bit, I'm going to begin my transition to my first down dog. Good, taking it nice and slow, walking that down dog out. Now, to get a little extra opening through the heart center in down dog today, I encourage you that when you finally settle in and feel comfortable, tucking that chin to our chest, eyes really looking back and almost up towards our hips, can give a little extra stretch through the shoulder and chest region. So again, here would be my neutral down dog. Here would be my extended heart opening down dog. So you can do that off and on, and releasing back to neutral, and then moving into that heart opener once again. Good, back to neutral. Good work, guys. Okay, let's go ahead and move right into a low lunge. So I'm going to step forward with that right leg, drop that left knee. Now, as I rise up, we want to focus on those hips going forward, right? But we also want to focus again on this heart center lifting up. Now, to do that, we don't ever want to dump into our lower back. Sometimes we kind of will get, I don't want to call it lazy, but like we won't realize how much we're really collapsing into our spine here. So when I say we want to lift through the heart center, we want to think about lengthening that spine, squeezing those glutes, kind of tucking that hip, easing forward, and then letting that heart center lift. So rather than my spine down here just kind of like dropping in, I'm very, very active with my hips. I have a nice long lower spine, deep stretch through the hip flexor, but beautiful open heart center. So we can have hands wide or hands in cactus arm position, eyes glancing up. Good. Let's go wide if we're not there already with the hands. Good. Drop them down to the mat. Beautiful. Revolve kneeling side angle until we can float that back left knee. Good. Nice long revolve side angle here. Now I'm going to shorten my pose ever so slightly because I'm going to lift up and back. Revolved peaceful warrior. Good. Back to center. Let's bring those hands all the way forward. High crescent lunge into warrior two. Good work. If you shorten that stance up a little bit, now you might want to lengthen it once again. Beautiful. Let's go to traditional peaceful or reverse warrior. Beautiful. Back to warrior two. Back to our high crescent lunge so that back heel comes up. And let's go into that open heart center. Cactus arms. Again, glutes are really engaged. In any back bend, glutes have to be working to push through that heart center and through those hips to get those hips forward. Tailbone tucked underneath us. Beautiful, nice wide stance. Hands will come all the way down, dropping back into down dog. Even out on the exhales if you want to take that open heart center down dog. Transitioning back to neutral on the inhales. Exhale, open heart center. Inhale, neutral. Last one, exhale all the way through. Beautiful job. From here, let's go ahead, step that left foot forward. We're gonna do that same sequence. We move right into that kneeling crescent lunge. Slowly lift up. Again, make sure those glutes are engaged. Deep stretch on that hip flexor, so pay attention to how it feels. We'll bring those hands up and open into our cactus arms. Good, nice wide hands if we're not there already. Beautiful, releasing hands down. Right hand touches to the inside of that left foot. Left hand goes high. Good, and then let's float that back knee. Back toe comes underneath us, revolve side angle. Now this is where it gets a little challenging. Again, if you want to shorten that stance up, we're gonna push through that left foot, come into our reverse revolved warrior. Good. And then as the hands come back down, we'll take warrior one arms with that high crescent lunge. Good, warrior two. Peaceful or reverse warrior, right hand down, left hand up. Good, back to warrior two. Let's go ahead, enter that high crescent lunge with that open heart center, cactus arms. Hands go wide and down, stepping back down dog. Wonderful work. Once we're in that down dog, again, drop that chin to chest. Back and forth. Good. Now we're going to come back into that kneeling low lunge. Right leg comes forward, plant it. I want to focus on the hips a little more because again, the only way we can engage in any safe back bends to really allow that heart opener to shine and lift through our chest, we have to make sure that that back is also open and ready to bend. So if we have really tight hip flexors, that's going to be preventing that. So as we're back in that low lunge, really engage those hips and glutes. So we're feeling it right here. We're gonna go ahead, reach up with the left hand and curve over to the right. Good, so we feel that nice stretch all the way through that left side body. Again, we haven't released those glutes. We're still squeezing and pushing through the front of the hips so we get nice length through those legs. Good, back to center. Hands come down. We're gonna go right to the opposite side. So I'm gonna step back, take a quick down dog before I step forward with that left foot. Same thing. Back, hands at the hips, glutes engaged. Right hand goes up, bending to the left side of our mat, across our body. Don't release those hips. Good, beautiful. Right back down. Hands on the mat, stepping back to down dog. Beautiful work. So we should have started to feel those hips releasing. Let's move through a nice dynamic series. Once again, we're going to start from down dog. We're going to kick our right heel up to the sky. Three-legged dog. Exhale, step it forward. High crescent lunge. Up. Exhale, cactus arms. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, peaceful or reverse warrior. Exhale, extended side angle. Good. All the way into revolve side angle. Beautiful. Let's drop that back knee. Reach in an attempt to bind that back foot. Now the goal here again is to feel that stretch through that hip. So make sure we're really squeezing that left glute, pushing through the front of that left leg as we have that left hand down. Good. Now you can see I am revolving all the way up and around my shoulder here if you're looking. This is again little tidbits that really make a pose feel different. Here you can see if I'm binding, a lot of people will naturally kind of roll this right shoulder in. We want to unroll that right shoulder. We want to kind of almost like we're pulling that shoulder up to our ear and rolling it back, lifting all the way through that heart center. So then just a revolved bound side angle here becomes a heart opening pose because I naturally start to really lift up to the sky. Okay, so I wanted to make sure you could see that. Back on my mat, I'm going to release from that, bring that right hand down, step it back to down dog. When you feel ready, let's extend the left leg nice and high, three-legged dog. Exhaling, step it forward, planting that foot. Inhale, high crescent lunge. Exhale into our high cactus arms. Inhale, back up. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reverse or peaceful warrior. Exhale, all the way, extended side angle just briefly, and then dropping right hand down, revolved. Side angle, dropping that back knee back. And now we've already thought about rolling that shoulder back. We're gonna reach back, really squeeze through those glutes and hips to get that extra stretch on that right leg. Now, say I can't bind and I can't grab this foot, I can still like reach back and really roll with that hand. So I still want to work on that heart opener through that left arm and left side, even if you can't get that foot. Good work. Let's bring it back. Again, stepping back to our recovery down dog. Taking those heart openers if you'd like, or just enjoying a nice deep stretch through our down dog. Let's go ahead and release our knees to the mat. We can take a nice wide child's pose, much wider than what we opened with, now that our bodies are a bit more warmed up. I'm going to come onto my fingertips. So even just coming onto our fingertips from our hands, you guys should be able to feel how we're, again, stretching through those arms a bit more and those shoulders. We're going to walk to the right. Maybe I even put my left hand on top of my right hand here. Walk it back. Again, walking opposite side now. Beautiful, back to center. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, come onto my hands and knees, and then drop my belly and my body to the mat. Anytime we come fully on the mat, put our head maybe down to the side or using our arms as a pillow. This is technically crocodile pose. So again, it's like a reverse shavasana or corpse pose. Now we want to get a little extra stretch again through those legs. So I'm going to reach back. I'm going to focus just on my left leg here. I'm going to use kind of maybe my forearm under my hand or under my head with my hand, or just arms on the mat, maybe pushing away ever so slightly. But I just really want to focus on getting the front of the leg to stretch and release. You can do this a variety of ways. Maybe you want to reach both hands back, keep that heel right at the hip. Maybe you want to go wider, open it to the left. Doesn't matter, as long as we're activating that glute and feeling that stretch through that left leg. Good, returning to that crocodile pose, turning our head to the right, letting that left temple rest briefly on our hands or on the mat. And then taking our opposite side. Here we go. Again, making sure to activate that right glute. So we're pushing through the front of the hip, feeling that stretch on the top of our right leg through those quadricep muscles. Good work. Now, once we're on our belly, let's return to kind of our heart openers here. Pushing through our forearms, we're going to take a nice, beautiful lifted Sphinx pose. Good. Lowering down, let's transition into a cobra. So legs stay on the mat, but we push up through our upper back and shoulders. Again, shoulders are not in our ears. We want to roll those back and down. Elbows are pointing back, and that fold where your elbow bends points forward. So you can see I kind of adjusted, made sure I could really have that part of the arm forward, pressing through in cobra. I'm going to release once again, adjust maybe one more time to get a little bit more height. So you can see all that stretching through the hips has allowed me to really be able to lift through my heart center, maybe even lengthen through the head and neck up to the sky. Beautiful, releasing down. Let's go ahead, push away in a reverse chaturanga, coming up nice and straight, taking our down dog. Wonderful work. We'll come back to that belly shortly. But for now, let's go ahead, step, walk, or hop forward to the front portion of our mat. We're going to take our first standing forward fold today. Good, and from the standing forward fold, let's root to rise all the way up. Beautiful, reach to the sky, coming back to our heart center in our Tadasana. Now, we've commonly always brought our hands together in heart center mudra, which comes from the reference of pulling that energy and holding it at our heart center chakra. So anytime we bring those hands to heart center, we're recognizing that that heart center is the center of that energy flow between all of our chakras. That's why we use it so often. Beautiful. Let's move through a full sun salutation A. We haven't done one of those yet in this series. Exhaling through in our forward fold. Inhaling flat back. Exhaling step or hop back. We're going to move through our first vinyasa, taking that chaturanga now that we're nice and warmed up into our upward dog. Exhaling into down dog. Beautiful work. Now we're going to take pigeon pose. We're going to step forward with that right leg, lay it across our mat, but we're going to focus on the heart center and heart opening aspect of this pose. So you can see oftentimes we'll collapse forward into sleeping pigeon. Today I want to focus on that upright posture. So rather than collapsing and rounding down, I want us to think about rolling those shoulder blades back and down. Rolling again, back and down. One last time, really pulling those shoulders up and back, and then opening those palms up to the sky, lifting through that heart center. Sinking through those hips. Beautiful work. Let's release those hands to the mat. I am going to encourage, if you'd like to, again, you'll notice this repetitive nature of our heart openers. Engage a lot of stretching through the front of those legs. So as we pull that knee back, or bend that knee, pull that foot back towards us, we're just binding in this pigeon pose. I'm still squared off for the most part. Again, I've allowed that hip to open slightly, but I haven't rolled onto that right hip. So make sure we're still keeping those hips somewhat square if we're binding the pose. Beautiful work. As I release, hands come down to the mat, stepping back to down dog. Let's step forward with that opposite side now. Laying that leg across our mat. Again, staying nice and square and upright. Once we're there, we want to roll those shoulders up and back. Up and back. And then if you feel comfortable and you're able to, rolling, letting those palms pronate up and back. If that's not super comfortable for you, you can always maintain contact with that mat. That is up to you. Now, as we move from that position, we can bind this pigeon pose as well, making sure we're not rolling all the way over onto that left hip, staying somewhat squared. Good, squeezing through those glutes. Nice deep stretch here. Beautiful, releasing back down, hands coming out to either side of that front foot. Stepping back into our down dog. Now we want to go back to opening through the heart center and the chest. So I'm going to drop to my knees. I'm going to slide those hands forward and take a nice, beautiful, deep puppy pose. I'm trying to get as much as my chest close to the mat as I can, while still, for the most part, keeping hips over the knees. It's fine if they come forward just a little or they're back just a little. But we want that energy to be pushing down through the shoulders. And then from that puppy pose, coming once again from that puppy into a sphinx pose. I'm going to kind of roll into it. Good. And then from our Sphinx pose, we're going to release again to crocodile position, only this time left hand's gonna come out, lay flat on the ground in T position, and I'm gonna push that ground away, roll across my body here. If you wanna add, like again, variations, right hand up, or maybe back as well, or maybe internally rotating behind the back. Another option. We're going to do the same thing, opposite side. Left hand presses through the mat right at the shoulder, right hand's in that T position, and we roll. Good, again, eyes looking up. Beautiful work. As we come back down onto our belly, let's slowly push up into a nice kind of wave-like cobra, rolling up and back. Up and back, tapping into the fluidity that comes from having a nice, beautiful, open sacral chakra, nice, beautiful, open hips, allowing a lot more fluidity as we move through our heart center openers. Beautiful. As we come back onto the belly, we're going to move into bow pose. So earlier, we had already stretched through those hips. We're going to reach now for the feet, or the ankles, or the shins, whatever feels comfortable. Now, again, the goal here is to hold this bind. If that's really challenging for you, I encourage to just lift through heart center in a bent knee locust pose, so that's without the bind. But if you can bind, you can see the goal here is to get as much of the front of that chest off the mat as we can. And the secondary goal is to then lift through the legs. I'm lifting through the legs by squeezing those glutes. I'm really trying to get a lot of that heart center off the mat. Eyes looking straight ahead. Beautiful. Release back down. For that recovery, we'll once again reverse chaturanga up. Exhale into a nice long spine and down dog. Wonderful work. Now, as we go into another standing sequence, let's take our right leg nice and high. Deep breath in, three-legged dog. As we step it forward, let's lift into that high crescent lunge. Exhaling, open cactus arms. Inhaling back to high crescent lunge before we exhale into our warrior two. Reverse warrior. Exhaling, side angle. Inhaling, revolve, side angle. Left hand goes down, right hand goes up. Good, let's drop that left knee. Kick that right leg all the way back. Grab that right foot, squeeze through that heart center, really lift it up to the sky. Beautiful. And as we release, I want to come into a side plank, extending all the way through. Nice lift through that right hip. If we can float and feel comfortable, I'd love to take a wild thing. Now, wild thing really lifts through the hips, but it's also a heart center opener. So we want to see if we stepped back into that wild thing, reaching up nice and high through that heart center and back. Again, taking that down dog. Now I want to let us have just a brief recovery. Drop to our knees, sit back, half hero pose, sitting nice and upright. So again, We're gonna do that entire sequence opposite side, but if at any point that wild thing did not feel comfortable, do not feel any pressure to drop into that. Just holding maybe that kneeling bind or holding a side plank can be a wonderful alternative there. Okay, so as I come into my down dog, on my next inhale, left leg goes high. Three-legged dog. Exhale, step it forward. Inhale, high crescent lunge. Exhale, open heart center, cactus arms. Inhale, back up. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, extended side angle. And then dropping that right hand down, revolved side angle. So first part of this added series, drop that right knee. Good. We're going to step back into that bound, kneeling side plank variation. See how that heart center remains beautifully open, pointing up to the sky. Extending that left leg all the way back and down. Extending into a full side plank. I'm adjusting just a bit. And then again, making sure we have that beautiful lift through that left hip up to the sky. Adding our wild thing only if we feel comfortable. Again, pushing and lifting up through those hips, letting that heart center rise beautifully. And releasing back down. Taking a vinyasa if you'd like, just since we haven't done many today. Exhaling into down dog. Let's go ahead, release to our child's pose. Hands coming on to those knees. I'm going to give one final heart opener option. From our knees, we can open them maybe a little bit wider. Mine were a little close together. I'm going to keep those hands on those heels or bring my toes underneath me to give myself a little more room. I'm going to slowly maintain contact with those heels, roll up, and then allow, once I'm upright, it's as if this heart center is lifting up to the sky, and my hips are going to come forward into camel pose. Beautiful, coming right back down. So I'm going to show a variation of that first. Let's release. Child's pose. Maybe we don't want to do full camel yet. If those heart openers are still a challenge, we can release just like before, bringing hands alongside of us. Only this time, as I roll up, I'm going to lift only through with one hand up, one hand down. A partial camel variation. See, I still can get that beautiful lift through my heart center. And then I can come right back down. Switch sides, going from that same kind of like forward facing reach in child's pose, but then lifting only through one hand and up. Beautiful. Again, releasing right back down, hands coming to the mat, child's pose. Nice recovery here. And with that, that's going to wrap up the largest portion of our heart center chakra flow. So let's go ahead, begin to transition onto our tailbones. I like to just kind of cross my legs underneath me, sit back at the back of your mat. We're gonna have yet another upright meditative shavasana. Okay, so again, if you need a blanket under your hips or a block under your hips to have a comfortable Sukhanasana easy pose, you can. But let's just take a few minutes here. Eyes closed, palms open and up, seated on our tailbone. Recognizing that we've now had beautiful opening sequences for both our root chakra, our sacral chakra, our solar plexus chakra, and now feeling that into our heart center. Returning to that intention we set at the beginning of our class. Maybe this is a flow you practice outdoors and you hold to that connection to nature, repeating, I feel my connection with nature, with trees, with the ground beneath me, the sky above me. Maybe you repeat that intention and connection that I am at peace, that I feel love for myself and for others. I feel joy despite my circumstances. All of these are very appropriate, beautiful intentions to repeat throughout our Shavasana. So let's go ahead, begin to adjust our positioning, just taking our hands, adding small movements to them, and slowly bringing them into heart center. Again, reminding ourselves that as we open our heart centers, we are opening our bodies and our minds to love, to peace, and to joy. As always, thank you for practicing with me. Namaste.